The banker didn't even look Ethan Carter in the eyes. He simply pushed a folded paper across the counter and said, 3 days. If you don't bring me $50 before sunset on Saturday, your father's ranch belongs to the bank. Ethan stared at the paper without moving. 40 acres. One broken cabin. A collapsing barn. And the small grave beneath the old oak tree where his father had been buried only 4 months earlier. Everything would be gone. The banker stood. I'm sorry, son. No. You aren't. Ethan picked up the paper and quietly walked out into the cold Montana wind. Outside, tied beneath the hitching post, stood the only thing he had left in this world. A powerful chestnut stallion named Shadow. His father had once placed a weathered hand on the horse's neck and whispered something Ethan never forgot. Son, if life ever forces you to sell this horse, it means life has beaten you harder than it ever beat me. Ethan closed his eyes. Life had won. The next morning, he tied a rough wooden sign around Shadow's neck. For sale, $50. An old cowboy stopped walking. He stared at the sign, then at Ethan, then back at the horse. His weathered face slowly filled with disbelief. You mean to tell me? You're selling that horse for only $50? Ethan nodded. I don't have a choice. The old cowboy looked into Ethan's tired eyes for several seconds before quietly saying, Boy, no man sells the horse he loves. He sells the life he's trying to save. Then the old man walked away. Ethan watched him disappear into the crowd. He didn't know it yet, but before the sun set, a mysterious woman would offer him twice the money, and an invitation that would drag him into the most dangerous week of his life. 1891, Silver Creek Trading Post. The livestock market buzzed with noise. Cowboys argued over cattle prices. Blacksmiths hammered glowing iron. Children chased chickens through the dusty street. Horse traders shouted over one another, each claiming their animal was the fastest in Montana. Yet despite all the noise, people kept stopping in front of one horse. Shadow. He stood perfectly still beside Ethan. Tall, powerful, proud. The white blaze running down his face made him impossible to ignore. You asking 50? A rancher scratched his beard. That's right. The rancher smiled. I'll take him. He reached for the reins. Shadow flattened his ears. 1 second later. Wham! The rancher landed flat on his back in the dirt. Laughter erupted across the market. Told you. That horse don't like strangers. Another buyer stepped forward. I know horses. He barely touched Shadow's shoulder before the stallion shoved him straight into a water trough. Splash. More laughter. Within an hour, everyone in the trading post had reached the same conclusion. The horse is crazy. The horse is dangerous. The horse is cursed. Ethan quietly rubbed Shadow's neck. They don't understand you, buddy. Shadow lowered his head until it rested gently against Ethan's shoulder. The crowd fell silent. The same horse that rejected everyone trusted one man completely. For a brief moment, Ethan nearly untied the sale sign. He'd rather lose his ranch than lose the last piece of his father. But then he unfolded the bank notice once more. 3 days. He had no choice. Just after noon. Every conversation suddenly stopped. The sound wasn't loud. It was elegant. The slow rhythm of polished carriage wheels rolling across stone. Heads turned. A magnificent black carriage entered the market. 2 mounted guards rode beside it. Its horses wore silver harnesses worth more than most people's homes. Even the loudest traders stepped aside. The carriage door opened. A woman stepped down. She wore a dark emerald riding coat with black velvet cuffs. A matching hat shaded intelligent green eyes that calmly studied everything around her. She wasn't young. She wasn't trying to be. She carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had survived enough pain to stop fearing the opinions of strangers. Without looking left or right, she walked directly toward Shadow. The crowd immediately began whispering. Don't. That horse bites. Lady, stay back. Ethan stepped forward. Ma'am? I wouldn't. She gently raised one finger. Not to silence him. Simply asking for one moment. She removed her glove. Then, very slowly, placed her hand against Shadow's face. The entire market held its breath. Shadow looked into her eyes. 1 second. 2. 3. Instead of pulling away, the powerful stallion slowly lowered his head. His eyes closed. He leaned into her touch like he'd known her for years. Nobody spoke. Even the birds seemed quiet. An old trader whispered, "I've been selling horses 30 years. I've never seen anything like that." Ethan couldn't believe what he was seeing. Shadow hadn't allowed a stranger to touch him since his father's funeral. Not once. The woman smiled softly. "I thought so." Ethan frowned. "You expected this?" She looked at Shadow. "Horses never lie. They always know who deserves their trust." Then she turned toward Ethan. "And usually, they know before people do." For reasons Ethan couldn't explain. Those words stayed with him. Her eyes fell upon the rough wooden sign. "For sale, $50. She looked back at Ethan. "Is that price real?" "Yes, ma'am." "Why?" "My father's ranch. The bank's taking it. I need $50 before Saturday." She studied him. Not his worn boots. Not the patched jacket. His face. His eyes. The kind of look that measured character instead of appearance. Finally she nodded. "I'll pay 100. The marketplace exploded into whispers. 100. "She's paying double?" Ethan blinked. "I think you misunderstood." "I didn't. I'll give you $100. His heart pounded. $100 meant the debt was gone. The ranch would survive. His father's land would remain his. But then she calmly added, "On one condition." Hope instantly froze inside him. What condition? She gently stroked Shadow's neck again. "I don't wish to buy only the horse." She looked directly into Ethan's eyes. "I want the man the horse believes in." Ethan frowned. "I'm afraid I don't understand. My ranch is 60 miles north. I've recently purchased several valuable horses. They trust no one. They fight every trainer. They've already injured 3 men." She smiled ever so slightly. "But this horse trusted you enough to follow you into poverty. I want to know why." She extended her hand. "I'll pay $100 for Shadow. I'll pay you a month's wages. And I want you to come to my ranch and help me save mine." Before Ethan could answer, a sharply dressed man standing across the street watched them with cold blue eyes. His jaw tightened. His fist slowly closed. Then he quietly turned away, as though this meeting had ruined a plan nobody else knew existed. Ethan didn't notice him, but someone else had. An elderly stable hand standing nearby whispered under his breath, "God help that young man. Because if he follows her, he's riding straight into a war." For several long seconds, Ethan Carter couldn't answer. The entire trading post seemed to disappear around him. $100. A month's wages. Enough money to save his father's ranch, repair the leaking barn, buy seed for spring, and still have money left over. But something about the woman standing before him made him hesitate. She wasn't smiling like someone making a generous offer. She looked concerned, almost as if she needed help more than she needed a horse. Ethan finally spoke. "If I accept, when do we leave?" A faint smile appeared on the woman's face. "Monday morning." She extended her gloved hand. "My name is Eleanor Blake." Ethan Carter. Their hands met. The moment they shook, Shadow softly neighed. The old horse trader standing nearby chuckled. "I've seen thousands of horses, but I've never seen one approve of a handshake." Several people laughed. Eleanor smiled. "I believe he just made the decision for both of us." Twist number 1. As Eleanor climbed back into her carriage, a rough-looking cowboy suddenly grabbed Ethan's arm. His face had gone pale. "You accepted?" "Yes." The old cowboy looked around before lowering his voice. "Then listen carefully. People who work at Blake Ranch don't stay there very long." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" The man swallowed. "They either quit or disappear." Before Ethan could ask another question, the old cowboy quickly walked away into the crowd, leaving Ethan standing there with chills running down his spine. Monday morning. The journey north took nearly 5 hours. Rolling green valleys stretched endlessly beneath the Montana sky. Shadow walked calmly beside Eleanor's carriage the entire way. Every so often, Eleanor glanced through the carriage window. The horse never took his eyes off Ethan. "You weren't exaggerating," she finally said. "He watches you every second." Ethan smiled. "My father always said, you don't own a loyal horse. You earn one." Eleanor quietly repeated those words, as if she wanted to remember them forever. By afternoon, Blake Ranch appeared over the next hill. Ethan stopped his horse. His jaw slowly dropped. The ranch was enormous. Hundreds of acres. White wooden fences stretching farther than the eye could see. A massive red stable. Dozens of workers. Beautiful horses running freely across open fields. It looked less like a ranch, and more like a kingdom. Eleanor noticed his reaction. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Ethan nodded. "I've never seen anything like it." She looked toward the house. "I used to think the same." Then her smile disappeared. "Now, I only see the problems." Standing near the entrance, a tall man in an expensive black coat waited with his hands behind his back. His face showed no emotion, only calculation. "Ethan Carter, I presume." Ethan nodded. The man never offered his hand. "I'm Victor Hale. I manage this ranch." His cold eyes shifted toward Shadow. "So, you're the famous horse." Then his eyes returned to Ethan. "I hope you're worth all the trouble." Without another word, he turned and walked away. Ethan quietly watched him leave. Something about Victor felt wrong. Not because of what he said, because of what he didn't. He smiled with his mouth, but never with his eyes. Twist number 2. That evening, Eleanor personally showed Ethan around the stable. Nearly 50 horses stood inside. Most were calm. One wasn't. A magnificent black stallion slammed his body against the stall door. Again. 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 3 stable hands struggled to hold him. "Easy. Hold him." The horse nearly broke free. Victor folded his arms. "We've tried everything. The animal's useless. We'll probably sell him." Ethan slowly walked forward. "No." Victor frowned. "What?" "He's terrified. Not dangerous." The stable hands exchanged confused looks. Ethan quietly entered the stall. Everyone shouted, "Get out! He's going to kill you." The stallion charged. Dust exploded beneath his hooves. At the very last second, Ethan did something no one expected. He removed his hat, lowered his eyes, and spoke in almost a whisper. "It's all right. I know what fear smells like." The horse stopped inches away. His breathing slowed. Its ears relaxed. Then, it gently lowered its head into Ethan's chest. Complete silence filled the stable. One young ranch hand whispered, "How?" Ethan carefully brushed dirt away from the horse's injured leg. "There." He pointed toward an old scar hidden beneath its coat. "Somebody beat him. He isn't attacking people. He's defending himself." Eleanor looked at Ethan differently. Not as an employee. As someone extraordinary. Victor, however, looked furious. For only a second. Then he forced another fake smile. Dinner was served inside the mansion. Only Ethan and Eleanor sat at the long dining table. The room felt much too large for 2 people. After several quiet moments, Eleanor asked, "Do you miss your father?" Every muscle in Ethan's face tightened. "Every day. He taught me everything. Except," he smiled sadly, "how to live without him." Eleanor lowered her eyes. "My husband died 5 years ago." Silence. Not awkward. Sure. Sometimes. The deepest conversations happened without words. Outside, rain began tapping softly against the windows. Twist number 3. Later that night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Shadow suddenly began pawing violently inside his stall. Bang, bang, bang. Ethan grabbed his lantern. "What is it?" Shadow wasn't frightened. He was warning him. Then, a loud metallic clang echoed somewhere behind the stable. Ethan rushed outside. Rain soaked his clothes instantly. Lightning flashed across the ranch. For one brief second, he saw a rider dressed completely in black leading 2 horses toward the northern fence. "Stop." The rider looked back, their face hidden beneath a black scarf. Then they kicked their horse into a full gallop. Ethan jumped onto Shadow. "Let's ride." The chase exploded across the rain-soaked fields. Shadow flew over fences. Mud sprayed behind them. The distance closed rapidly. 30 yards. 20. 10. Another flash of lightning. Ethan almost caught the rider. Boom. A tree suddenly crashed across the trail. Shadow barely leaped over it. When Ethan reached the other side, the rider had vanished. Completely. Only fresh hoof prints disappeared into the dark forest beyond the ranch. Ethan climbed down, picked up something lying in the mud. A small silver ranch button, stamped with only 2 letters. Victor Hale. Ethan slowly closed his hand around the button. His heartbeat echoed louder than the thunder above. This wasn't an accident. Someone inside Blake Ranch was stealing horses. And for the first time, Ethan realized the real reason Eleanor had needed the man the horse trusted. He looked toward the dark forest where the mysterious rider had disappeared. Without knowing it, he had just ridden into a conspiracy far bigger than a stolen horse.